Jeremy as Cook here, and today I'll be making a very solid table out of 2x3s with lots of glue. My dog was indifferent. So the first step, of course, was to draw it out in Fusion 360, just drew the beams and then just copied and pasted it. This was a very easy way to do it. Didn't put any sort of connectors or anything here, but I was just trying to get a good look at generally how it would look once it was done. After a quick mock-up on CAD, I then took it to the table saw at Table Hackerspace. Cut off a little part of this, so it was exactly 2 inches on that side, and then the top took off any sort of radius and stuff, so it would have a really flat top on it, or so I hoped. After that, I cut down some of the sides to make sure I'd have room for the legs. You can see that, just one long side, one short side, alternating. Lots of glue here, and then I stuck it together. Used the custom jig that I made to just make sure there was room for the leg pieces, and then measured it on both sides to make sure it was actually a square, not just a parallelogram. Clamped everything together, and then at that point I turned it over onto the side that was supposed to be flat, beat it down with a hammer and another piece of wood, as you see there. Lots of hammering and stuff, just to hope that I could get the middle flat. Even clamped it down with these straps. That was probably overkill, but in the end it all fit together nicely. Took it off there, and after flipping it over, it was indeed flat. At least on the middle. The sides were a little bit off, as you'll see in a minute. From there, it was time to glue up the legs, kind of the same thing. You can see I've got the spacers in the bottom there, which will actually lower the center of gravity. You want to make sure it was really solid so it wouldn't tip over easily. Clamp that down and let that dry, of course. And then the other side too, I had to glue that together. Measuring everything to make sure it was square. And then I put the middle supports in. Only put a few of these toward the back, I think 4 of them in the back, not in the front. Again, to kind of weight it towards the back so it wouldn't fall off the wall or anything. Lots more hammering and measurement with the square to make sure it was at least somewhat level. After the last member was installed, I put some spacers as well and then clamped everything down. Let it dry, and then after that I radius or chamfered the top of these so I could make sure the top I could just knock it down into the spaces between the 2x3s easily. You can see me doing that here. Now you can also see that I have no glue used. Everything's held together by glue. So yeah, I had to knock it up and end up hitting my hand once or twice, so don't do that if you do this. So next step was to use the glue, and after that it looked much better. Nice and satisfying to get it all to fit down here, and it looks actually looking like somewhat of a table. There were a few gaps, however, so I made some spacers for that at an angle, knocked those off, and it was again starting to look a little bit more like a table. And after that, it was time for some sanding with my orbital sander. Put some chamfers on the edges there, just to make sure it was a little bit less sharp. Sanded on the side, and that one was sticking out quite a bit, so I used an angle grinder to put some notches in it before I took that down. Wasn't quite level here, so I used some glue and some sawdust, or I guess you could say sander dust. As kind of a spacer. This worked out pretty well. Probably should have done another coat of it, but it made it at least somewhat level. After that was dry, a little more sanding, and then some stain. Love how the stain looks when it goes on there. It just transforms it from bare wood to something that looks like it's just been, well stained. Looks like it has some work done to it. I decided to screw down some of the members just to make it a little bit more secure. And rather than have those screws exposed, I decided to use some plugs to keep everything, well, looking nice and wooden. I used a hole saw for that and a 5/8 inch paddle bit to actually make the holes in the wood. You'll see that in a minute, but that's just kind of making the plugs here out of the same material as the rest of the table. So after paddle bitting that and drilling it, I screwed everything in to keep that secure, and then put the plugs, the custom 5/8 inch plugs, in there. There's the other side that I'm screwing down, and there's another view of the plugs. Big shout out to Chris at Cowdog Craftworks. I wouldn't have done this if it wasn't for his inspiration. Although his looks a bit better than mine, I'll admit, but it still turned out pretty well. Had to use a little bit of glue to fill in the cracks too. But after 3 coats of urethane, it looked really good at my son's room. Nice smooth surface, really secure. I think this will last for a long time. So far he's been using it, enjoying it, putting his crafts and stuff on there, and then below that he's got storage for books or whatever, and then stuffed animals below that. So it's pretty good. My dog was pretty much indifferent about the build, so but if you liked it more than Evie, be sure to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, or maybe even share with a friend. That'd be very much appreciated. So thanks so much for watching. This is Jeremy S. Cook signing off.